And welcome back to the second draft. Cleveland rocks at not winning games.
They are the best at losing.
They are.
The parade's on Saturday.
Certified.
Congratulations to Cleveland on this auspicious season. Really bodes well for next year.
Only can go up from here.
Only can go up. I just feel bad for the next quarterback they draft. Welcome back to the second draft.
Welcome back. It's 2018, you guys.
It's 2018.
Whew.
It's a new year.
We've officially been doing these videos for 2 years. If you look at it in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
In 2 years. In 2 years.
That's a better way.
Okay, so Brad does this with me. My husband does this with me. He's like, so we started dating June of 2013. Mm-hmm. And he'll tell me, he hasn't done it recently, but like, say he did it in 2017, he'd be like, we've been together for 5 years. I'm like, we've been together in 5 years, but not for 5 years.
The span of 5 years.
Yes.
Brad and I share this this confusion for prepositions that we really just need to figure out. So we'll work on that and get back to it in the next episode. But for right now, them Cleveland Browns, such a terrible. Remember when we were all? I wouldn't say we were all, but we were all hopeful for
I was optimistic.
the season at the beginning.
I was optimistic for the perfect season, and they met and exceeded my expectations. It's such a Cinderella story. If like all the birds and rats died, and the evil stepsisters had a threesome with Prince Charming, and Cinderella got ran over by the carriage on their way out, yeah.
And those fragile glass slippers got shattered by every team.
And the fairy godmother died of a heart attack or diabetes or something. Yeah.
Perfectly
Stay
awful.
tuned for our parody screenplay that'll be up on the website soon.
Still a better movie than Bright.
Haven't seen it.
That was terrible. That was awful. And racist.
It was rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Racist with Will Smith in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Racist against orcs?
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's something we could probably talk about in a different podcast. But it was bad. It was.
I'll put that on my watch list this weekend.
Just don't.
And then.
I mean, you can if you're like morbidly curious and you want to have like a talking point.
How Did This Get Made should do like an episode on that.
Yeah.
Paul Scheer, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas, you're my man.
If you end up watching it, just keep in mind the fact that Netflix paid like $3 million for the script, and then they paid like $90 million to make it, and you will wonder where all that money went. Yeah.
Lots of green screen, maybe.
No, actually. No.
I'll have to watch it, and then we can do it.
I saw some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. The camera work looked like top-notch with
the lighting wasn't,
how
so
it's
everything
moving.
Really cheap.
I wouldn't say the cinematography was top-notch. I would say the camera work, which I don't... So I can't say that the director of photography did a great job, but I won't say that the production wasn't well put together and the special effects weren't good. I will say that the story bugged me.
Yeah.
Which is usually what I have a gripe with, so.
Yeah.
Wow.
We should start talking
Back to football.
Yeah, should we review?
Postseason, here we come.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's Wildcard weekend.
It's going to get wild.
Be wild.
Oh dear.
Wild West.
That was a movie I did not like.
That was a Will Smith connection that just didn't connect. I wasn't really trying to. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Speaking of Will Smith, you know he turned down The Matrix for that movie.
I think The Matrix was better for it. To be honest.
I think so too.
Will
Smith agrees. Actually, Will Smith recently did an interview within like the last year where he said if he saw The Matrix and he said if he was actually in The Matrix he would have effed it up. I respect that. I don't respect the whole Scientology thing, but seeing a really good movie and realizing that you were not a good enough actor to be in that movie and you would have screwed it up is admirable. Sean Connery was almost Morpheus too, and he turned that down. Oh, what a weird movie that would have been.
That would have been strange.
Also strange.
So at what point do head coaches like Marvin Lewis decide that they're just really bad and that their teams are better off without them?
If owners keep giving them contract extensions, then I'm sure they're pretty oblivious to the fact. So,
does Chuck Pagano get another gig?
oh God, no.
Or does he retire?
He retires. He retires. I think John Fox should retire too. I feel like John Fox has already been retired for the past like 5 or 6 seasons anyway.
Hasn't he been? He just kind of goes out on the field and like makes sure his hair is combed properly, and he kind of just smiles wherever the camera's at.
If there's a capable quarterback on the field who's able to call the plays for him, like Manning, then yeah.
So how do you guys feel about Vance Joseph then and BA? Because I mean, I'm curious. I know we'll have lots to talk about when it comes to BA, but Vance Joseph and John Elway are all buddy now, talking about the change of culture in Denver.
I'm completely confused.
Yeah, I am too.
By all of that.
I said with such authority that I thought after it was 2 weeks ago, I was like, he's gone. He's so gone.
How many seasons has he been there?
1. This is his first season.
Single season.
Is he working for cheap? Is that what's going on? Like Elway would rather like chase some free agents or something? I don't know what's going on. I have no clue why Vance Joseph is going to still be the head coach next season. I don't. There are plenty of really good candidates out there that are going to be coming up this season. And I would love to see the Broncos take one of them.
I mean, at the end of the day, John Elway's one person, and I imagine that, you know, if he's been in the glory days before, and, you know, he's got to have some heart to his decisions. He probably goes with his gut a lot. And I guarantee if one person comes up to him and advocates on Vance Joseph's behalf, then we get him again for another season. You know, give him a mulligan, let him. It wasn't his fault, and then they point the finger somewhere else, and now there's extra scrutiny there and less on Vance Joseph. When in reality, you know, you're captain of the ship. If the ship goes down, it's your fault. You know.
There's also the rumor that the Broncos might be looking at Ben McAdoo as their quarterback coach next season. So I'm thinking maybe Elway's just going senile.
Could be. Given what's happened with the quarterbacks this season, I have no idea what's going on. I really
a combination of Ben McAdoo and Vance Joseph on that field together.
I hope we draft well, which won't happen. And then when we draft well, Paxton Lynch ends up having to play. And then when he plays, he just comes out swinging like he hadn't before.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to see like Paxton Lynch come into his own, like we've seen like Carson Wentz or even Jimmy Garoppolo. Those types of quarterbacks come into their own. That'd be amazing. It'd be really cool. As far as Bruce Arians, it was time. That whole regime, that whole era for the Cardinals was a massive shot in the arm, and I will, as a Cardinals fan, be forever thankful for it, but his treating of that entire team like his boys club instead of the business it should be, you know, like holding on to Carson Palmer when Carson Palmer was overdue, holding on to Drew Stanton because Drew Stanton was Carson Palmer's friend. It was no competition for Palmer because I believe Palmer's a head case when it comes to that type of stuff. Keeping on James Bettcher, who I don't understand our fan base. I don't understand why Cardinals think that James Bettcher is a decent defensive coordinator, because the only good thing about James Bettcher is Todd Bowles' playbook. That's it. So I'm thinking that like BA is already, he's retired. He's done and gone. I don't think Bettcher stays around. I don't think I hope to God Amos doesn't stick around. Like possibly the worst special teams coach in the league. I hope he's gone. I feel like, and what happens in many cases when you bring in a new head coach is that coach brings in or handpicks their own staff. So I am honestly quite excited at the prospect of a complete, like rebuild of that entire coaching staff for the Cardinals. I'm hoping it'll be productive and it'll be another shot in the arm and it'll be something that's sustainable, unlike what we have seen from the Cardinals from the past few seasons, which clearly was just not sustainable. It was such a weird thing where, I don't know, everything just really came together for the 2015 season and looked really good, and then the following season, like, it just all went to hell. Like, there was a very, very solid expiration date for everything the Cardinals have put together, and I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see something that will have longevity into the future. I want to see a team that we can watch grow and build over the course of 5 or 6 seasons and maybe make a playoff run. Maybe in the first couple of seasons, I don't know, but I'm incredibly envious of what the Rams have got, what the Eagles have got. Not so much what the Titans have got. But yeah, I want a team that I can be excited to watch grow, like what the Niners have got. Like, yeah. So it's time for a rebuild. It's time for a reset button press, and that's what we're getting, hopefully.
Well, cross our fingers.
Yeah.
I would really, like, my wish list, like, top 2 items. Do not hire. I know they're looking at a coach that's currently on staff with the Steelers. Don't take Steelers like cast-offs, because that doesn't work.
No.
Bruce Arians, like, he can do enough to get the playoffs, but he's never been able to take a team as a head coach over the line.
Yeah.
And that could be circumstantial, but and then I want them to build a team around the defense. So get somebody like Matt Patricia as the head coach. And because we have a lot of the really solid pieces on the defense already put together. There's a lot less question marks on that side of the ball.
Sure.
And so I think off-season priority needs to be a defensive-minded head coach who actually knows how to put together a defense and to use the pieces that he has. And then a general manager who... So, I mean, I'd be happy if Kime went. And bring on, I don't think he's going to, but it would be nice to see the front office bring on a quarterback that can manage a game. And then instead of drafting defensive tackles, pick up some really solid offensive linemen.
Yeah.
So that your quarterback doesn't get murdered.
I'm going to kind of maybe flip it on its ear and say that I would love to see an offensive-minded head coach and a really good defensive coordinator. Because I feel like that defense already has enough talent that with a really good coordinator, somebody better than James Badger, that defense would... There's so much talent on the team that has just been wasted the past couple of seasons. Like, that shouldn't be happening. Like, why are they not getting in the heads of, like, people like Tyrann Mathieu and even Patrick Peterson? Even though he was one of the best shutdown corners of this season, when he's being targeted, I'm seeing him get burned. You know, like, I'd rather have a really good offensive-minded head coach who would butt heads with Steve Keim and say, no, we got to go after big body receivers. We got to go after really good offensive linemen. We got to rebuild this offense basically from the ground up, because all we've ever had is David Johnson and Larry. There's no offensive linemen to speak of. There's no wide receivers to speak of. Sorry, Jaron Brown and John Brown. You guys are like 5'0". Like, you guys can't compete with a 6'2" cornerbacks out there. And unless you're wide open, which is very rare because our scheme doesn't usually allow for a wide open pass, we're not seeing that kind of action, and we should be. We should be seeing big-bodied receivers out there that can go to toe-to-toe with cornerbacks and fight for possession and get those big balls in the end zone. It's just not happening. So I want somebody who's going to come in, and we're going to need an offensive-minded head coach anyway, because we're obviously going to have a new quarterback. So I swear to God, if we got Drew Stanton or Blaine Gabbert in there, like, just call the next season a wash anyway. It's just pointless. So I agree with what you're saying. But I feel like we've got enough on the defense already that with a good defense coach in place, we can have an offensively minded coach that can come in and
the same would be true though if you brought in an offensive coordinator that really understood.
True.
So I mean, I just think I think it's smart while rebuilding the offense to start building a team around defense.
Yeah.
That can eat the, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the gumption came back to the Cardinals when the focus was on the defense, when you saw a lot of focus on Pat P and Honey Badger. But I want to see a better quarterback in Arizona, and I also want to see some, like, well, you mentioned, I think both of you, if you split what both of you are saying, a mind to defense, I think, is important, but some receivers, a big-bodied receiver, somebody, so that you're not relying on Larry to carry you through a game. I mean, Arizona really felt the absence of DJ this year.
Yeah. And
it just showed the weakness of the team. Like, they didn't have versatility. There are a number of other teams, like if you look at the wild card right now, everybody that's in this round, I think, has some versatility, and if you pulled one of those players out, they would still be able to compete. The Cardinals flopped because they relied too much on the run game, and everybody was holding their breath for the day that DJ would get hurt. And, this time it happened and they crumbled. I want to see them be a little bit more adaptable, and that involves getting a better captain under center. And I think, so what you were saying, DT, and then what Paige said also, just more attention to the defense, especially, I think, in the draft.
Yeah.
I think they really missed the mark with the quarterback last year, but this year I think if they capitalize on the defense, DJ gets healthy, find a quarterback somehow. Somebody in the league is willing to go to Arizona and play there and kind of be not necessarily a project, but just like take on the team and buy into it wholeheartedly, I think that you'd have a really successful Cardinals team.
I agree. Yeah.
Also, I mean, we could start, Cardinals could start using David Johnson more as a wide receiver because he played receiver in college. So he's got that dual threat. If they started using a fullback,
I agree.
that would flesh out the run game a lot more. Because they need to stop using David Johnson as a blocker, because they do, and that really aggravates me because that's not what I get it. Sometimes you use him that way, but they don't. They don't really have a fullback, like a dedicated fullback in the scheme.
No, they've got David Johnson. They got a bunch of little guys, and they keep just trying to feed to the A and B gap the entire time. Like Kerwin Williams is a great runner, but he's not going to be that power guy.
Or find a better tight end that's a blocker.
Yeah,
I think
DJ
honestly,
not that guy either. Like they just.
We saw a big departure from fullbacks in the league for a long time, and I think it's because of the playbooks. I think it's because of the playbooks. I think it's because we're not running down the middle quite as much anymore, and so coaches want to see running backs that are big enough to pass block, that are big enough to sit back there. I mean, I think DJ is capable of that, and we don't want to see him injured by running up the middle or pass blocking, but at the end of the day, I think he needs to be able to fill that role. And I see what you mean. Like he's definitely more of a versatile player. Like he can go and play in the slot every now and then, or just be a receiver on a few claw plays or things like that. But what I'm seeing,
college.
Sure. So. Well, and I think he'd be great. Like he's obviously an athlete.
I think it opens them up to.
He's the X factor in Arizona. Like he can be that person. He can play wherever. I'm sure that if you put David Johnson as a guard on the offensive line, he'd figure it out and he'd pull like nobody else, and he'd go crack linebackers when he pulled. But my point is, the fullbacks, I really now, if I think about it, you see them occasionally in the middle of the field, but most of the time you see them in the red zone, and that's because they're trying to either open up the pass game or they're trying to ram it down somebody's throat. And I think you only see the fullback on teams that have strong special teams that have the ability to get into the red zone easily. That
the
aren't
Steelers
struggling.
have been utilizing their fullback a lot more. I mean, I think he's gotten into the end zone maybe twice this year. And
I think you could argue that, like the Patriots, for instance, they're kind of running a fullback game with Rex Grossman.
Yeah,
he comes in the red zone and just crushes it. He's an animal, and he's a tailback. Like he's not fullback stature, but he runs like a fullback. He runs upfield. Now, there are a couple other teams that are doing kind of the same thing, but most of the time I see it in the red zone. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
And, too, don't forget, so I got to see TJ Logan play in the preseason game, and that kid was lit. Super talented. And then he got injured because our offensive line is garbage. Yeah. So we've got some depth, a little bit.
Sure.
Not a lot, but I don't know. Cardinals offseason is going to be an interesting one.
It's going to be exciting, I think. I hope it's exciting. They're at the point where they can't F around anymore. They have to make big changes. And I'm a fan of change. So.
Yeah, especially, I mean, our record looks better than what we played this year.
Oh my God, 8-8 is like.
It looks better than what it actually was.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
It's that 500 team benchmark. It reminds me of teams like the Bengals, who are never bad but never good either.
Yeah. In spite of themselves, yeah. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, so the Bills are playing the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Wildcard game.
I hope you had fun, Bills. It's going to be the Jaguars. J-Rum, dude.
Party. You guys made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, yeah. You guys, you cleared that drought. That's amazing.
Way cool.
It's raining in Buffalo. It's raining playoff.
Y'all proved us wrong.
Appearances. Yeah, absolutely they did. But J-Rum, like, drink a lot of beer and party it up. Because this is it. It's Jacksonville. Yeah.
I almost pulled that random pick last week. I obviously lost that one. Miami got stomped by. Well, they didn't get stomped by the Bills, but my point was that they had the ball. They had the opportunity to win. Then they flopped. So, Yeah, I don't know. Are we we're doing traditional picks like normal? I'm going to pick the Jaguars also. I think we're all going Jaguars.
Yeah.
But
Titans Chiefs.
Titans Chiefs. I am honestly shocked that the Titans are in the postseason. Shocked. Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that we're not really giving these games proper analysis, but
the next two are going to be.
Yeah.
These will be discussions.
And I don't want to negate the excitement of the Bills getting into the postseason for the first time in a really long time. But at the same time, it's Wildcard weekend. These are teams that are just barely squeaking in. Andy Dalton. Some Bills player actually said this week that Andy Dalton is now his favorite quarterback of all time. He said, no offense to Tyrod, he's my guy, but Andy Dalton is now my favorite quarterback of all time. And Bills fans are actually donating en masse to Andy Dalton's foundation as a thank
Which
you.
Does great work.
Yeah, it was a thank you for him throwing that touchdown pass against the Ravens and getting the Bills into the postseason. But it's Wildcard weekend, and dudes are going to get eliminated super quick because they're just barely squeaking in. So the Bills and the Titans are going to be those teams, I think.
Yeah.
They're just gonna get smacked. So
it should. Well, we've been talking about versatility. I'm glad that we had that little discussion in the beginning. Like if I look at the Bills and Jaguars game, and the Chiefs and Titans game, if either of those are an upset, next week it's just gonna make for like a completely stupid simple pick.
Yeah.
And kind of a week of football. I'm not going to be interested in seeing that next divisional round because it's going to be like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a massacre because those in the divisional round you don't mess around. From here on out you don't mess around and throw in your backups or anything. I mean the Jaguars. And we talked about the fullback position, and with the Jaguars got Tommy Bohannon. They've been throwing him in from special teams to play fullback.
Yeah.
They have the versatility we talked about. The Chiefs have that versatility we talked about. I think both of these teams are the clear-cut winners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not so much so for the Falcons-Rams game.
Should we do halftime first?
Yeah, we can do halftime.
Right there.
It's only 4 games. We're doing halftime after 2 games.
2 games.
We'll be back. And that was halftime. And we've got 2 more games.
2 more.
2 more games.
We'll decidedly
just
have
2
more to talk about.
Yeah. These
bye week for so many teams. So
for the next how many weeks?
Just 1, right? Divisional rounds are next week, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Falcons Rams. This is gonna be an interesting game.
Definitely. Go ahead and go first page.
I don't even know.
Okay, I'll go first page. I'm going to take the Rams. We made a prediction last week that the Rams are going to sit all their starters and we were going to see the Rams not do great, and that's exactly what happened, and now all the starters are rested and that team is out for mother effing blood, and they're going to kill the Falcons. Sorry, Atlanta. Rams are just a better team all around. Todd Gurley's going to have another 150-yard day. He's probably going to get like 2 touchdowns. I don't think that Falcons defense, even with the strength of Dan Quinn, is going to be able to contend with that Rams offense. They're just a powerhouse, and I think they're going to keep on marching.
Yeah, Todd Gurley is running with the fury of God. I don't understand what is happening, but it's awesome to see. And the Falcons picked up some steam later in the season, especially the last few games. Mm-hmm. So I'll give them that. But to me, this was a pretty clear pick. I'm going to go with the Rams as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to make a pick page.
I'm going to go Rams. Between Todd Gurley, that whole team in 1 year, head coach shift.
Sean McVay.
Todd Gurley.
Again, I'd mentioned the NFL videos.
Offensive MVP of the year. Definitely an MVP.
Potential.
Todd Gurley?
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how few MVP candidate conversations Todd Gurley's involved with.
Yeah, it's weird.
I hate the fact that it's always defaulted towards quarterbacks. Yeah, Goff has
maybe
been
it should
great.
be...
Wentz has been fantastic. Wentz has probably dropped himself out of the contention because of his injury. Todd Gurley's the MVP of this league, folks. He is. Kid's unbelievable.
Well, and if we're going to talk most valuable player, as if the team doesn't have that player, then they drop out of the playoffs.
Right.
Perfect example would be Aaron Rodgers should get the MVP because the Packers would have made the playoffs with Rodgers.
Yeah, that's an
And,
interesting.
and
Rodgers
definitely could not have. And did not.
Rodgers, I would say Alvin Kamara, rookie of the year, but
Yes.
Yeah, I'd
but
be shocked.
holy
if he didn't.
shit, like you're talking about you mentioned a player that if they weren't on the team, they would not be in contention for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints are our last game with the Panthers. I would say you pull him out the team. Ingram's a monster, but I think Kamara gave him some much needed rest on a lot of the games. And that's where that dynamic kind of running back situation comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Alex, you played Destiny. Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
I played Destiny. You don't play Destiny 2? Okay, so...
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's way better than the first game. A lot of people are pissed off about a lot of things, but that's neither here nor there. So in Destiny 2, there's a quest you can go on in like the post-game content where you can get 2 different pistols called Sturm and Drain. So what happens is if you kill with one pistol, it automatically reloads the other pistol.
Yeah.
So that Kamara and Ingram are like those 2 pistols because you kill with one, and everyone's ready to go. You kill with the other one, and you just keep going. That's what Arizona needs.
That's perfect.
Arizona's got their Kamara. Arizona needs their Mark Ingram. So yeah.
The power back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They need,
So-
they need the earth and wind to that fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Panthers Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Saints.
Oh yeah, you are. I'm going Saints
Hell
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also going Saints. We're all across the board unanimous this week, and I'm
Who
cool
dat?
with that.
Who dat?
Good thing DT already lost this year.
Oh, we haven't gotten that yet. Thanks, Paige.
Yeah. Spoiler. DT lost by 1 point in our pick'em.
Mm-hmm.
But the Panthers are so unpredictable and so unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
Like not unpredictable in my husband came home and surprised me with flowers. How unpredictable.
Oh, I came home. My husband's in bed with another woman. Unpredictable. Maybe not that bad.
Like
I don't know. Was that where you were going with that?
Like, I expected my husband to come home and do the dishes, and he didn't. He's unreliable.
Okay, so not that
I
bad.
think-
Okay. All right.
I think if you look at the Panthers, and I think this has been one of those points of disagreement for the three of us this entire season, but I think the Panthers have been better overall this season than we've given them credit for.
Sure.
I know that they've had a few rough weeks. Obviously, they kind of have that. Other teams do this back and forth, and the Panthers kind of have this gradual uptick for me, and then they have dips, and they have valleys that they have to get through, and they're usually the harder teams, like the Falcons we saw last week. This week I'm picking the Saints because I'm all aboard that Saints hype train since the beginning of the season, but also you mentioned the unpredictability. I think they haven't been so unpredictable. I still think this is the week that they're gonna kind of flop. Yeah. This is the game of the wild card round that I would say I'm probably most on the edge about. Yeah. The other one being the Rams and Falcons, but this one I'm definitely the most kind of like unsure. I think it's gonna be a great game. I've loved every Saints Panthers game that I've watched in the last 2 or 3 years. Whenever these teams match up, it's always a fun game to watch. So I'm curious to see what happens, but I'm thinking the Saints win.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Saints win too. I don't think it's fair to discredit the Saints for what happened against Tampa Bay last weekend. Divisional road games are always weird, especially into the season. They still looked good. It looked like they had firm control of the game up until halftime, and then something really weird happened, which again I just accredit to being a divisional road game for the Saints. I feel like the Panthers are vulnerable. I feel like the Saints are still overall the better team. I feel like Ingram and Kamara are going to have a day. I think Drew Brees is going to have himself a day. And I think that defense is going to feast on Cam Newton, who is always good for at least a pick or two every single game.
It'll be interesting, though, to see Carolina's run defense against New Orleans ground game, because I think that's a really fair and solid matchup because Carolina has a solid run defense. And obviously we wax eloquent all the time about the running back duo in New Orleans. So I think that's going to be. I think that's where the game is decided.
Yeah, I agree.
Is on the ground.
Yeah. And I had this conversation about the Panthers, when they were going into the Super Bowl against the Broncos, and can they rely on their heavy hitters to carry the game for them? And in the end of the day, the answer is no. For me, I look at the Panthers going to this game are looking at those running backs, like you mentioned, Paige, and I think Michael Thomas, who's picked up heat at the end of this season, Drew Brees has been finding him more and more and more. I think that deep threat is going to change the game. I think they didn't have it together when they last played the Panthers completely. I mean, he kind of showed up around that game or around that time. I think their ability to bounce back and forth on offense is going to change the game. The Saints' defense has been primarily good this season, just like surprisingly so.
Yeah, I would say like Tre'Davious White and Lattimore from the Saints are probably neck and neck for defensive rookie of the year. Lattimore's been fantastic, but so is White. So yeah, and yeah, he's a big part of what you just said, like that Saints defense. So yeah, it's definitely my game of the weekend. I think it's by far the most evenly matched. It's going to be certainly the most exciting and definitely the most decisive, clearly, because. Yeah, I mean, it's two divisional rivals going at it in a wildcard weekend. I mean, you can't ask for a better situation for football in terms of excitement. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, and I haven't looked. So the winner of what game goes up against?
It should be so. The Patriots and the Steelers will play. I think it's the Steelers play the Chiefs Titans. Victor, is that right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then the Patriots will play the Rams Falcons. Did I do that right?
No.
No, sorry. Bills Jaguars.
Yeah, there you go.
And then NFC Falcons Rams will play the Eagles, and then Panthers Saints will play the Vikings. I think is how it goes.
I think that's right.
So Saints, like I said, Saints Vikings.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Hopefully, yeah, that'd be incredible. That'd be a great game.
I might have to break with you guys and go Vikings.
Really? Against the Saints?
Yeah. I love the Vikings. I love the Vikings this year.
Too. Yeah.
Vikings are good.
Yeah. I'm
we'll
in
see
love
how
with
We'll see how these Saints play against the Panthers, though. I don't. If they come out with a fury like I think they will, then
yeah.
Then I don't know about that game.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. That covers everything for Wild Card weekend.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm stoked. This is a good wild card round. I'm more excited about this wild card than I have been for most wild cards. So
me too. Yeah, I'm really excited.
I think the championship, AFC and NFC championship games are going to be awesome.
I think they should be off
year.
the hook. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, playoffs this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be because there's not like of the all the teams that got buys: Patriots, Vikings, Eagles, Steelers. The only team that I'm like meh about in there is Eagles, and that's only because Wentz is out.
Yeah.
I don't know that Nick Foles can carry the Eagles through the playoffs.
I don't know if that Eagles defense can carry them to the playoffs at this point. They've really kind of.
I think the steam has gone out of that team.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love looking at this wild card round and thinking at the beginning of the season when we were talking about games, and you look at the teams that are here. I would say 5 of them probably we would never have expected, maybe even 6, never have expected in this wild card round. Let alone, and that's even excluding all the ones that have this bye. So
yeah, I mean, just on paper, beginning of the season, I would have never picked the Chiefs or the Titans or the Bills.
I wouldn't have picked Jacksonville Jaguars.
And I wouldn't have picked the Jaguars, and I might not have picked the Rams.
What a turnaround! No, after the season the Rams had last year.
So I mean, the Falcons and the Panthers and the Saints. I think those would have been the 3 that I was like, yeah.
And that's what makes things so exciting. I love the fact that all these teams have turned it around from being terrible last season to becoming great.
Yeah.
I that's what you want out of football. You don't want to see the same crap year after year like in basketball. Like, I love watching Steph Curry play. I like watching LeBron play. I'm really effing tired of seeing them play against each other every season. So, I mean, we'll see what shakes out with the divisional rounds and whatnot, but I'm hoping we're we're in store for some really exciting playoffs with some upsets. I'd love to see some upsets. I'd be perfectly happy seeing myself be wrong on some of these picks if it means a more dynamic and interesting and exciting postseason. So
all I know is I'd love to see the Jaguars upend the Patriots.
The Jaguars, that'd be incredible. That would just be insane.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, Calais Campbell getting sacks on Tom Brady. Oh my God.
Feast.
I'm getting a little flustered thinking about it.
I know. Cross our fingers. Sorry, J-Rom. I just don't think the Bills could take down the... At this point, I'm rooting for the team that can take down the Patriots.
Yeah.
That's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to see my husband watch the Patriots Steelers AFC Championship game.
Because the refs are
because
F with that one.
As we discussed last week.
Can't spell ref without F.
It's true.
It sounded way more clever in my head than when I said it directly to that microphone. Yeah.
It's okay.
Bruce Arians retired from coaching. Maybe I should just retire from podcasting.
No. You've got 20 plus years of this stuff left.
I'm going to drag this shit out like Brett Favre. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Just don't, when you retire, just actually retire. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Don't go play for another podcast.
That's right. Because we expecting us to take you back.
Okay, so do you guys want to make some deep end of the season? It's not even deep season, end of the season predictions right now? I don't know. You guys mentioned the only kind of shoe-in that I can see looking at the divisional rounds, which was the Eagles have had kind of I don't want to call it a Cinderella story, but they've had just a crazy awesome season, and I'm sure Eagles fans will be talking about it for forever. I just don't see them going deep into these playoffs.
No.
Well, deeper than they already are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I feel like a Steelers Rams. I mean, I'd love to see the Vikings go to the Super Bowl, but I feel like a Steelers Rams Super Bowl might be fun.
It would be interesting. There's no combination of teams in the postseason right now that I wouldn't like to see in the Super Bowl. Given, especially in the NFC, what a close race it's been the entire season. I mean, I'd love to see the Jaguars upend in the AFC. I'd love to see them win the divisional round. I'd love to see them go on and win the AFC Championship round and go to the Super Bowl. That'd be fantastic. I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, but the Vegas odds are absolutely on the Patriots making it to the Super Bowl. But I feel like it's kind of a crapshoot. So who's going to represent the NFC? And that's fun. So
yeah.
I don't know.
What I would love to see, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see the Saints Steelers Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last week. Just a black and gold Super Bowl. Yeah,
it would be so awesome, but I don't know if that's gonna. It would be pretty tough to get there. I think the odds.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this up by talking about how terrible I was at making picks this season and how slightly less terrible Alex was. So, if you've got the grand totals.
I do. Drum roll. So I ended the season with 155 correct picks.
Well done, Paige.
Thank you.
You did well.
I love how we have something in store for, well, I guess me picking your... Anyways, hold on a second. So 155, Alex had 149, and DT lost by 1 with 148. So we have a prize for the loser, which turns into a prize for the winner, because I get to pick a horrible jersey that DT has to wear every podcast next regular season. I'm so excited.
I love it.
So the possibilities in my head of all the things that would be hilarious to watch you wear are churning. And we've already agreed no murderers or dog abusers
no
or
women punchers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to buy him a Ray Lewis jersey or Aaron Hernandez, as much fun as that might be. So those are the stipulations. Yep. But aside from that,
it could be custom too.
It can be custom. It could be anything. Yeah. So
the world is our oyster. Yes.
So Tim
I
Tebow
don't.
Jets
I want
jersey?
to weigh in it. I won't weigh in on it as much as Paige because I think she decisively earned the choice to pick.
Yeah.
So I'm mostly gonna leave that decision to her, but I'll weigh in with some options maybe to mull over. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I barely skated away, so
we were neck and neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could easily be
A tie would have been fun.
Now. Yeah.
Oh, the tie was our tie option. We talked about the tie option would be the two of us combined to give Paige a jersey of her choice.
Like a bias
So-
jersey that she wanted. Yeah.
And maybe we can do that that kind of double or not. Well, that wouldn't be double or nothing, but kind of like another side bet on the divisional rounds / Super Bowl or conference rounds if we want to get to that point.
Yeah.
To just kind of do, winner get something as opposed to the loser is punished by something. I don't know.
I'll take my punishment. Yeah.
But if you guys want to leave us comments or tweet at us with your non-murder, wife beater, dog abusing, worst jerseys picks, that would be good.
Yeah.
Because
At
I'm like
TUNDTRAFT.
my brain's going through. Yeah.
And once the jersey's been selected, I will do a reveal at some point when we're all together again. And
Maybe for the draft.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, for the draft we could do. Because we were talking about doing like a live thing for the draft for the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't hold back, guys. I deserve it. Hit me with your
Just
worst.
barely, though. We just barely deserve
I
that.
won't just wear that crap on podcast night. I will wear that on Sundays watching football. I'll own it.
Oh.
If I take a
That's
bet and I
tough.
lose that bet, I am all in on that bet.
Oh, God.
Give me an Eli Manning Chargers jersey. That would be funny.
That would be funny.
Uh,
They never made any Manning Chargers jerseys, though, because he was like, F this,
rejected
I'm
them.
not,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I will not.
I mean, it could be like my first thought was like you mentioned Tebow already, or Jake Cutler, or like Rex Grossman.
we could do like
somebody
an
like
Emmitt
that.
Smith Cardinals jersey. That's like an insult.
A Mark
That's kind of an
Sanchez
insult.
Broncos jersey.
Kroll, a dude I used to do a podcast with for a number of years, B. Michael Kroll, he loved Emmitt Smith and the Cardinals. He felt like that was one of the turning points of their franchise coming back around. I kind of disagree, but
I mean, he played very well in Arizona.
He got us some ratings. He kind of, people maybe paid a little bit more attention, but I don't, yeah.
And then he left to retire as a Cowboy.
Yeah, Dick.
Bud Fumble Mark Sanchez jersey. Rich Gannon Raiders jersey.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Oh, my stomach just turned.
Who else?
We can just do a whole separate podcast video of guys just naming off terrible jerseys ideas and just watching me turn different shades of green. And then eventually I'll match that shade of green for the butt fumble jersey I'm going to end up wearing.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I think we've harassed and humiliated DT enough for one night. So.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week.
We will see
Enjoy
you next
football.
week.
Drink
Yeah.
lots of beer.
Mhm.
Be safe.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. This is going to be a wild week.
A wild card week. Welcome back to the second draft.
Got him.